This is The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. With your host, Tyson Gifford and William Rower. Episode 106, American Gods. Recorded May 4th, 2017. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I'm your host, the editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast. My name is Tyson, and joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host on this show, William Rower.
Hello.
So today, we are going to be talking about American Gods, something we've been excited to talk about for a while. But before that, we are going to be talking about some of the news stories that have been happening this week. So let's kick things off with the news right away. Hulu has officially picked up Marvel's The Runaways for a 10-episode order. So the pilot episode was filmed. It was all picked up. This is actually going to happen now. I'm kind of excited about this just because of who's involved. The Runaways is kind of kind of an interesting comic book property. It's actually kind of the one I was hoping when Joss Whedon was first talking about them doing a Marvel property for TV back when they announced Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was kind of hoping it was going to be the Runaways back then. So I'm kind of looking forward to this. You got Josh Schwartz is involved in this, who did the OC and Chuck. So you got some good people involved. What are your thoughts?
I never read Runaways. I don't have any connection to those characters or any of that. The cast is a little too CW for my tastes. It's like way too CW with cast. It's like it's obnoxious, actually.
Attractive youth.
Other than that, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's got some good talent behind it. It could be good. We'll have to see. I'm not particularly hyped or excited. I might actually just skip it just because it's not something that interests me particularly.
Fair enough. So we also have news about the potential writer's strike that was averted with the signing of a new 3-year deal between Writers Guild of America and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. I have to say that I am shocked at my own initial reaction to when we thought the writer's strike was going to happen. Do you know what my instant reaction was?
What?
Relief. This wouldn't affect Netflix. This wouldn't affect premium cable. It would only affect broadcast, and it wouldn't affect anything that's already kind of in the pipeline, that's like coming, that's already been written. So to me, I'm like, ooh, a little bit of slowdown on peak TV.
Well, it would have been more damaging than slowdown on peak TV. You saw how much damage the last writer's strike reaped.
Kinda, but then again, like, some of my shows had their best season. Some of my favorite shows had some of their best seasons during the writer's strike. Supernatural, probably its best season. Lost, its best season was season 4. Breaking Bad's first season at 7 episodes was really strong, you know?
Right.
So it's, I don't know, like, I don't know if it would have had the same effect it did last time, because now, like I said, this doesn't relate to, like, Netflix.
It really screwed over Heroes, although...
Heroes was already...
was that show going to be better quality if the writer's strike didn't happen?
I don't think so. I think that show was already doomed. That was Heroes in its second season, and then second season started, like, before the writer's strike stuff started happening, the second season started on a bad foot.
Yeah, it started on a bad foot. The second season was when everybody realized, oh, this isn't actually going to be the show we thought it was going to be, is it?
Yeah.
You know?
That's where it kind of became clear that it was garbage.
Yeah, all the hype and excitement from the first season was, like, killed by that season, and the rest of the show never managed to get back to the quality of the first season.
That's right. That's kind of how I feel. I don't think it really hurt Heroes. I think Heroes was able to use it as an excuse, if anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't think it was that harmful. I remember being bored because there was just a lot of reality television occurring at that point because of it, and there was just not a lot to watch on TV. But you have to remember, like, we're in the middle of peak TV. We've had to skip so many shows that we actually want to watch because, like, there's too much to watch.
Right,
there are so many
exactly.
shows that I would love to go back and watch, but I just don't have the time. And then you also have the fact that, like, this would not affect Netflix and premium channels like HBO. And
Right.
when you look at the amount of content coming from those two, like, I don't think it would hurt us at all. And that's kind of what's rough about it. I think more than anything, it would have hurt the broadcast networks who are already losing a lot of ground. And I think that's why they wouldn't let it go to strike. Because they saw the writing on the wall. They're like, okay, we're losing a lot of ground to the streaming services. We can't take this loss right now.
Yeah, we can't. So, yeah, that's why they acquiesced.
Yeah, but so that's over. Crisis averted.
Breaking Bad was only able to make 7 of the 9 episodes they're supposed to make that year. So you lost 2 episodes of Breaking Bad. Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
First season of Breaking Bad was really tight. I don't know if it needed the other two.
Yeah, it was really tight. I watched that on Netflix, and I didn't feel at the end of season 1 like there was stuff missing or like stuff was cut out or anything. It felt pretty complete to me. I don't know what those extra 2 episodes could have added to it.
I actually think between 6 and 8 episodes is a really good, like, first season run for a show. Like, I think a lot of shows should kind of take that, like, number, a short number, because shows, a lot of times, they struggle to kind of, like, find their footing, And so you get that first season, you get to be a lot tighter, with your material, with what you're doing, and then it ends, and then you have time to develop the second season and where you're gonna go from there. I think it would actually kind of be a good strategic move for a lot of shows to do, and I'm seeing that now with some stuff, I think Stranger Things' second season's gonna be longer, with its first season was 8 episodes, and that first season being 8 episodes allowed it to be a really tight run. American Gods season's 8 episodes.
Oh, okay.
So we're seeing that a lot, like, of these shorter things. I think Game of Thrones kind of started pushing in that direction, where most HBO shows were 13 and Game of Thrones was 10. And now we're getting a lot more shows in that kind of shorter range, and, I think that's actually kind of good, because, like I said, we're in TV, we have tons of stuff to watch, we have to abandon stuff. It's not necessarily a bad thing if a show is shorter. It actually kind of, a lot of times makes it better, because it makes it more concise.
A lot of times, like, the networks insist on a certain number of episodes, so...
Yeah.
So, like, like NBC or something will insist that this is 23 episodes, And it's like, yeah, but this would work better in, like, 10 episodes.
Yeah. And I think that's gonna change, too. Because I think that has been changing. I believe The Good Place had a shorter run, and that was one of the most critically regarded, new comedies. Same thing for Trial and Error, which was also a pretty big hit, and that was a shorter run as well. So I think you're gonna start seeing a lot more shorter run shows. And you're just gonna have more, like instead of having, a 22 episode run show with like a hiatus between it and then like the summer off and stuff, you're gonna have like basically 4 seasons of 13 episode runs. So I think that's a good thing. It's how you manage peak TV. You have this huge variety of TV, but you make the episode count shorter, more concise, tighter, all that stuff works in its favor.
I agree with that. I think shows should ideally be as long as needed to tell the story being told in the best possible manner they can tell it.
We've said this a lot with Netflix, with like the Marvel shows.
If they need 20 episodes to tell a story, like say if you're going to adapt the entirety of The Dark Tower into a TV series, without the movies, without the movie component, if you're just going to do it just as a TV series, maybe 20 episode seasons will work because there's a freaking lot of content to adapt there.
Yeah.
But something like Daredevil or something doesn't need more than 10 episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
More than 10 or 13. Yeah.
We brought this up with discussion about the Marvel Netflix shows, that all of them suffer pacing issues. Like there isn't a single Marvel Netflix show that doesn't have a pacing issue.
Right, exactly.
And like The Defenders, which we're going to talk about later a bit in the news, is actually going to have an 8 episode run.
That's interesting.
For its season, which is shorter, and it's weird when you consider that it's like
the other Netflix shows.
This is the big one that brings everyone together, and it's only going to have an 8 episode run.
8 episodes seems to be this seems to be like a new thing that they're starting to coalesce around in terms of, because Game of Thrones is doing it now.
Yeah.
American Gods is doing it now. The Defenders,
Stranger Things did it.
Stranger Things. This seems to be starting to become a new trend as far as the series length goes, because I know before it was 13 episodes and they considered that shortened, and sometimes even 10, but now it's becoming 8. So it's interesting to me.
It's going to be half an episode soon.
Yes.
It's going to end like mid-sentence.
Yeah, it's gonna end mid-sentence. It's gonna be like that JRPG on PlayStation 1 that ends in the middle of the boss fight. Literally ends in the middle of the boss fight.
Okay, so moving on now, we're gonna talk about a hacker. So
Hackers,
I'm gonna
we're
just
gonna talk about Mr. Robot, right?
not quite. So a hacker or hacker collective calling itself the Dark Overlord, which just that's the humor of it all.
Dark Overlord.
He'd obtained episodes of Orange is the New
Power
Black.
Rangers villain.
Yeah. He'd obtained episodes of Orange is the New Black and other unreleased shows from Fox, IFC, Nat Geo, and ABC. Possibly more. The episodes were stolen from an audio post-production house called Larson Studios, whose client shows include Fargo, Man-Seeking Woman, Atlanta, and The Last Man on Earth.
Oh, nice. I can't wait to see what those new episodes of Man-Seeking Woman the hackers managed to grab.
Those are just the shows that have gone through this production company before. But
yeah.
So the episodes of Orange is the New Black it was the first 10 of the upcoming season. There's 13 in the season. Were released on torrenting sites after Netflix refused to pay the extortion money that this hacker group or person asked for.
Really, why should they pay extortion money to hackers? Ridiculous.
Yeah. But here's the statement that the hacker or hacker group, the Dark Overlord, released following Netflix refusing to do it and them releasing it. And this is just funny because it's so self-important, but here it is. It didn't have to be this way, Netflix. You're going to lose a lot more money in all of this than what our modest offer was. We're quite ashamed to breathe the same air as you. We figured a pragmatic business such as yourselves would see and understand the benefits of cooperating with a reasonable and merciful entity like ourselves.
Reasonable
entity, yeah. And the others. There's still time to save yourselves. Our offers are still on the table for now. So the funniest thing about this is that they were only able to grab the first 10 episodes of Orange is the New Black, and they wanted to threaten Netflix with this, saying that they would be hurting them business-wise. So apparently they don't know how Netflix works, because Netflix is a subscriber company. You subscribe to them, and if you wanted to watch the full season, because they only had the first 10, you'd still have to subscribe to Netflix.
To watch the last 3.
So this doesn't have any effect.
Good job getting people hooked and making them subscribe to Netflix to finish it.
Yeah, good job saving Netflix on server bandwidth for the first 10 episodes.
Yeah, I know, right?
So it's just silly, funny. I wonder what's going to happen with the other companies. I think the other companies have more to worry about with their shows. But even still, I think this is kind of a silly thing that it's just funny seeing how self-important that hackers are coming across as, and that they chose to make their huge stand and their public display with Netflix where it's not going to matter at all. So moving on from that, we have Defenders. The first trailer came out for the new crossover series featuring all of the Marvel Netflix series. So Iron Fist, your favorite, Will, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil teaming up. What did you think of the trailer?
Oh, I loved it. Great.
A lot of people have been paying attention to like the treatment of Iron Fist in the trailer, like kind of like how like they started filming this well before the series came out, but people seem to be reacting as if like the trailer is like cut in reaction to the distaste to Iron Fist, but like this is how the series was gearing up before Iron Fist came out. Playing Iron Fist is kind of like making him look kind of like stupid and like that he has a lot to learn, you know? But it's interesting seeing people read that into it, because that's something that like I thought watching the whole series is that was something that they were intentionally going for in Iron Fist, was to make him appear kind of stupid and ignorant and like a child, you know? Like a comic book serious version of Kimmy Schmidt.
Right.
I don't think the execution on Iron Fist was great at all, by any means, but I think that was is like something intentional. And it's not just them making fun of it here in Defenders. But Defenders looks like it's going to be a lot better than Iron Fist, hopefully. And then again, I thought Iron Fist looked like it was going to be good in its first trailer too, so. So you're looking forward to it?
I'm looking forward to finally seeing these characters together, how they interact. We got some glimpse of their interactions in the trailers, the trailer. I mean, it looked cool. Jessica Jones, obviously, is going to be the most fun character in this.
Yeah, her classy line was great.
Yeah, her classy line. Yeah, she's going to be so great. I'm actually just watching to see how Jessica Jones interacts with the rest of the Defenders, because her reactions are the most interesting.
Yeah. I really liked Matt Murdock coming in as Jessica Jones' lawyer.
Yes,
like,
that
so
was awesome.
there's lots of like kind of cool things like that I'm looking forward to. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be coming up later this year.
It looks fun. It doesn't look like anything mind-blowing. It doesn't look like it's all amazing. They really hit it out of the park, but it looks like it's going to be fun. as long as it's not a sleep aid like Iron Fist, then yes.
So our last piece of news unrelated to American Gods is that HBO is now developing 4 Game of Thrones spin-offs from 4 different writers, 2 of which are working directly with Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin. So the writers are Max Borenstein, who wrote Kong Skull Island, Jane Goldman, who was one of the writers on X-Men First Class, who is also working with Martin on it, Brian Helgeland of A Knight's Tale, and Carly Ray of Mad Men, who's also working with Martin. So George R. R. Martin is working on 2 of these directly.
Wow,
all 4
George,
of these...
You should be writing the next book, not writing TV series. Jesus Christ.
The 4 series are all exploring different time periods and locations in the series. So it's not like they're all like, they're not doing like they're not doing their version of the Defenders on Netflix or something, where they're going to have these 4 different stories.
Yeah.
These are just like 4 unconnected, except that they take place in the same world, in the same mythos.
And who the hell's not what they're doing? There's who the hell even knows what they're doing? Like, there's talk that there's prequels, and there's a lot of stuff to mine for a prequel. But then even if they do a prequel, who the hell knows if they're even going to touch any of the known content, of the known backstory, or just invent something else that happened in the past. So we actually don't even have a very clear clue of what form these shows will take.
Exactly, yeah. It's I think a good chance, if they want to go for another big epic show in the vein of Game of Thrones and how big an epic that show is, they're gonna want to do like the Fall of Valeria. So they're gonna want to, then you have dragons.
That sounds ambitious and expensive, and
yeah.
That's like the way it's described, that just sounds extravagant. Like, there's fucking magic everywhere. Okay, this isn't Game of Thrones where like there's no magic, or like in Valeria, especially there's magic like everywhere, like all over the freaking place. And there's dragons, and dragons are common. Dragons are like what everybody freaking has. Okay, so they're gonna have.
I'm looking at the budgets on Game of Thrones and how they keep exploding season over season.
They're gonna have to have CG dragons in like literally every scene of the show. They're gonna have to have.
I could see them doing it. They don't have to do the CG dragons every scene when they're in Valeria, yeah. But when they're like out kind of around in the neighboring cities and kind of exploring, they can also reuse set pieces and stuff that they built for.
Oh yeah, but Aegon's Conquest would be such a sight to behold on TV. Like, that would be amazing.
Aegon's Conquest would be amazing. A lot of people want to see Robert's Rebellion.
Oh yeah, Robert's Rebellion. Some people...
That would be like no magic.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that takes place, as far as where Game of Thrones starts, that takes place in the pretty recent history of the series, relatively,
How about the War of the Andals and the First Men?
Oh, gee,
you get the building of the wall.
I don't know. I'm not interested in that just because I like that stuff as a myth more than a reality, or seeing it as a reality. I like it as just this mythical whispers
backstory,
of the backstory, rather than seeing it as being an actual historic event.
There's a lot to mine there though, because it's
there is. They could also adapt
they
could also adapt Dunk and Egg into a TV series.
That's Dunk and Egg is
which would be fun.
popular like novella series that George R. R. Martin wrote that goes alongside Game of Thrones and details one of the kings before he was king and his friend, a knight, the hedge knight. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff they can mine for content. Just because they're developing 4 series doesn't mean any of them will actually come to the net. This is just development deal. So this is just to write the pilot episodes of these 4 shows. Some of them could get picked up, all of them could get picked up, none of them could get picked up. It's all over the board. Also, they mentioned that it's possible that some of them could be made as like a mini series if that ends up being how they see it. So they could do something like the Doom of Valeria, but do it as like a mini series, like a short run, 1 season thing that tells like a concise story and just is like really elaborate and over the top. And because HBO does do that. HBO does some pretty, big budget mini series, especially if you've looked at their like World War II stuff like the Pacific and Band of Brothers, So I could see them doing something along those lines with like the Doom of Valeria or Robert's Rebellion. But yeah, I mean, it's all just kind of up in the air. It's just that they've announced that they've ordered the scripts for these. So let's talk about American Gods now. Before we dive into the show itself, we have one piece of news related to American Gods, which is that viewership of the premiere on Sunday night had an estimated audience of about 1 million. That only the only Starz series that premiered stronger than that are Camelot and Da Vinci's Demons. So Outlander, which is like really popular,
was that
did not
the
premiere
best
strong
ratings Bryan Fuller ever got?
I don't know. I doubt it, because network numbers are always way higher.
Yeah.
Even on something that's like smaller, like Hannibal was. But this was a pretty high rated premiere for Starz, not their highest. Like I said, it came in second, it came in below only Camelot and Da Vinci's Demons. Those are the only ones that it premiered higher of every show Starz has done. So that includes like Ash vs. Evil Dead, Spartacus, Outlander, outperformed all of those. That's also only the premiere, like the actual broadcast premiere time. So the episode became available like on Sunday at midnight on demand. So, like it was available before this, so that you have to kind of take that into account when factoring in that number too. That's just people who tuned in at like, 9 or 10 p.m. or whatever to actually watch it as it aired. And then of course with channels like Starz, they replay the episode throughout the whole week, like constantly on various channels, so that doesn't count for any of that. It's only for that initial broadcast. So it's pretty good. The numbers that bested it for Camelot and Da Vinci's Demon were just barely over 1 million, and American Gods is just barely under 1 million. So it's not that, they're not that far away from each other. It's right on par with them. So let's talk about the episode itself. You said that you had a little bit of apprehension about the show, that you were kind of like, oh, maybe this will be the one that ruins Fuller's perfect streak of just nonstop great shows.
Maybe not that dramatic, but maybe nothing that dramatic, but maybe like I wouldn't end up loving it as much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a real fear, genuine fear to have, because coming off of like something like Hannibal, you just think, how could they possibly top it, or how can anything be as satisfying as that coming off of that? It's like so it's in comparison, it's not like I thought this was going to be horrible or something. I expected to enjoy. My main fear, I just hoped it wasn't boring. Like I think I worried that this was actually just going to be boring at its worst, and I just like, please God, be entertaining. And
please, American Gods.
Please, yeah, please. And oh boy, it is. Oh, it is. It is like it. This doesn't disappoint.
So let's go through the series, and we'll talk about kind of, because it's pretty easy the way it's structured to kind of almost go through like scene by scene and talk about what we like. First off, the opening like credits, just like the adoration of neon in the opening credits. Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's just like a stunning piece of Americana. Going through those opening credits. It's so awesome.
It's probably, it brings brings to mind probably the darker, more sinful aspects of America. All these neons, in all the neon invokes, Las Vegas, Sin City, that sort of thing, where the aesthetic is wholly American and yet wholly unwholesome. It's not the it's not the apple pie in baseball America that they're presenting in these credits.
No, yeah, it's that kind of seedy side of it, and you also have kind of the influences of because this is a story about not just these American gods, but about these older gods that have come to America. So you'll see like little things, like you see like a statue of God, I can't think of the god's name, the elephant god from India, and you see like you see all these kind of like different relic things, like kind of pointing like, oh, okay, so they're showing like these influences coming from these other areas and stuff, and people that have brought their religions with them. It's a really cool opening sequence.
It's a really cool opening sequence.
Let's talk about the opening scene, which is told as a story. We see a figure that we are not introduced to, and he is writing in a book, and he's telling a story about Vikings coming to America.
Yes. Oh my God. This is, we open with this, and this eased all my fears that this might be something of a slow burn, or something like just boring setup or anything. This eased all my fears. Like, they open this on some shit. And I was just like, okay. Yep, I'm sold. It's basically a story about how Vikings first came to America, because we know Vikings were one of the first Europeans to discover America, way before Columbus. And this was that story, and basically the story was, they come, they find that it's really inhospitable and not a place that they actually want to be, and they can't leave because as soon as they get there, the wind dies, or there's no wind. And so they try to appeal to their god, Odin.
I just want to say first off that I love the way they alluded to the no wind with the line, the sails hung as saggy as grandma's teeth.
Oh yeah, this is just great.
But yeah, so they don't have any wind. They're being attacked by the natives, so they can't even go inland from the beach where they are without facing severe attack. That's shown with one of the Vikings just getting shot like head to toe full of arrows. Absolutely like insane sequence. Then they go about trying to kind of figure out how to invoke the help of their god Odin.
Yes. And they try to burn out their, left eyes, which doesn't really do anything. Then they sacrifice the guy, and that gets the wind blowing a little bit. And then they realize, oh, well, Odin's a war god. He's pleased by war, so let's just have this massive battle of, murder and butchery. And this is where we have to say, yeah, this is not a squeamish show. This is not...
not a show for the squeamish, yeah.
Not sure. This is not going to shy away from blood and gore, and it almost seems like it revels in it as well. It is excessively gory. This is Braveheart didn't think to be this gory.
This is also where I first noticed that they were doing a extremely high shutter speed. And for those who don't know what that means, it's when you use a camera, if you shoot on a low shutter speed, any motion you have is kind of there's some blur to it. So if you've ever taken a picture of somebody running and you got a little bit of blur in their movement, that's because your shutter speed is low. Now, if you've ever taken a picture of somebody running and it's pristine, like they've been literally stopped in space, that's a high shutter speed. Now, in video, that has kind of a strange effect, like video or film. Most people would probably have seen the effect if you've watched Saving Private Ryan, where there's the battle on, was it Normandy? On the beaches. And everything, you can see the sand particles in the air. It's not a cloud of dust that's blurred. It's you can see the clumps, and it makes the war, everything that you're seeing in the war, hyper real, to the point that it's disorienting, but it's just super clear. That's what they're doing here on American Gods as well, but it's kind of having a different effect. It's it's almost like making it so real that it becomes like surreal is how I described it I believe in my top 10 article that I put up this week. But yeah, it makes things so realistic, so sharp, so detailed that they start to look kind of almost unnatural.
Right. And that is definitely done on purpose too, because yeah, it's stylized.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of gore, but it's stylized.
Yeah, it's heavily stylized. Beautiful show. By the way, I should point out that this isn't just Bryan Fuller working on this show. This is Bryan Fuller working with the director of the Hannibal pilot, David Slade, who also directed pretty much all of the like major episodes of Hannibal, including like the series finale and the season 2 finale, and he did like a lot of them and was heavily involved in like the visual tone of the show. And the same composer that worked on Hannibal. So this is like the Hannibal dream team working together on another project. And so when we start seeing these like amazing use of like this high shutter speed and it has a similar like way that Hannibal had those like dark oily colors, you know, like you get the same kind of thing here too, because it's the same people.
Yeah, you could definitely tell it's the Hannibal team.
Yeah. So that sequence ends. They leave the island. They vow never to come back again. They vow never to set foot on a ship again because it's such a like horrifying experience for all these Vikings involved. And then it mentions that when Vikings did return with Leif, they did so with Odin there. Like Odin was now in America. Like these Vikings had brought Odin to America. And so it said that Odin was in America when Leif arrived. Like he didn't have to like bring Odin there, you know, he didn't have to like show Odin where he is. Like they had already won his favor there.
Right, exactly.
So that leads us into where we get to meet our main character, Shadow Moon, who is in prison for aggravated assault. He's in prison with he has a friend there that he's talking to that's kind of giving him advice. Looks like he's marked by a few people that kind of want him dead in the prison. He's talking about how he's going to be getting out in a few days on good behavior. He has a really cool sequence where he like basically like sees his wife. It's like this weird representation of like him acknowledging that he's going to see his wife again, where they show like the prison kind of breaking away and he sees his wife laying in bed.
Right, yeah. Like again, this is very much Hannibal in the way that it's done and presented. Because you know you have all this like dreamlike imagery. You have the blood and the gore, and it's all stylized. For anybody who has watched Hannibal, the style is all very, very familiar in this. Mm-hmm. So you are going to see a lot of, you know, and probably because of the material here, you're probably going to see more dreamlike, out there imagery than even Hannibal.
Yeah, because this has like real supernatural stuff going on, whereas Hannibal, all the supernatural stuff was kind of
it was all
hallucinations or
all the supernatural stuff was a play on the psychological stuff that was going on in that show.
Yeah, it wasn't actually happening supernatural, whereas this is. So it's got a lot more leeway for that. Although not having the leeway for that didn't stop Hannibal from really going out there with it. So Shadow has that moment. He says goodnight to his wife. Then he goes into kind of a dream world. He's in like an orchard, which the name of the episode is The Bone Orchard. So that's where the title comes from. The floor of the orchard is covered in bones. He's walking through the orchard. He sees like a noose hanging from a tree. The tree branches like reach out to him. One of them bitch slaps him, which I thought was great. I just love that shot of the tree kind of reaching out like a hand, kind of shaking, and it gently kind of touches him, and then it like backhands him.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of like our first exposure to like him seeing kind of like maybe having this vision of things to come. He wakes up, ends up finding out that his wife is dead, and he's being released from prison a few days even earlier even than he was supposed to. He was already going to be getting out early, but now he's going to get out a few days earlier than that because his wife passed away. So he can go and plan her funeral and everything. So he's sent out. He's kind of like just a big raw nerve now. He heads out. He goes to the airline. He tries to get his tickets changed, but the woman behind the counter isn't helpful. He remembers having a conversation with his friend in prison that's basically like a big allegory to like, you know, don't piss off those bitches at the airport. That's the lesson he has to learn. So he learns that lesson. He says, okay, how much would it cost to get a flight out tomorrow? And he's trying to figure that out so he can get home to his wife's funeral. While doing that, or after doing that, he sees a doddering old man stumble to the counter and basically trick his way into a first class seat.
Yeah. Well, he seems to be sort of out of it, doesn't know where he doesn't quite know, you know, he doesn't seem like he could take care of himself. He doesn't quite seem to know what's going on, and he's trying to get on this flight, and at some point the woman working the desk kind of feels sorry for him and lets him on the flight with a first class seat. And
Shadow Moon ends up getting on first class as well, but like purely seemingly by chance. I mean, there's probably a hand manipulating something in there, but we don't see that. We only see that, you know, his seat's already being taken by somebody, and the flight attendant says, well, you have to sit somewhere. And he said, well, just point me to a seat and I'll sit there. And there's no seats available back in the coach, so he gets pushed to first class, and he happens to be sitting right next to who we learn is Mr. Wednesday. This is Ian McShane's character who had scammed himself into first class.
Yeah, and so and we find out that he is quite the character.
He's a con man in a way. He's like a hustler.
And you know what the thing about that is that even without knowing him, that becomes immediately obvious. And not even because of the way he tricked himself on the plate, just because of the way he carries himself. It's in the way of a con man, a huckster. He instantly has that air about him. But then again, he also has an undeniable charm. So
having Ian McShane portray you is going to do that.
yeah, exactly.
Ian McShane just kind of like chewing the scenery left and right wherever he's on camera. Amazing. He's having this moment with Shadow Moon where you find out like Shadow Moon has a little bit of con man in him too. So they're kind of sharing, you know, coin tricks and stuff, and they're talking on this flight. And Mr. Wednesday offers him like a job and says like, oh, you know, don't have to think about it too much. And he's all, no, Shadow Moon's like, no, I don't need it. I have work waiting for me. And Mr. Wednesday is like, no, you don't, but you know, don't have to rush into it. And
yeah, don't have to rush into it.
He says, I have two gifts. He's like, I almost always get what I want, and I can fall asleep wherever. And then he just instantly goes to sleep. Shadow's kind of like surprised by this, like kind of like looks at him like, oh wow, he really does fall asleep quickly. Puts on an eye mask and goes to sleep himself. He returns to the bone orchard. This time he sees like a giant bison with fire coming out of its eyes.
he relates an interesting antidote, which makes you think, which he basically says, do physics actually exist, or do they exist because people believe they do?
Yeah, Mr. Wednesday said that to Shadow on the plane before he went to bed, you know, saying like, all these people hurling through the sky, you know, based on Newton's principles, which don't make a lick of sense, you know, but everyone believes in it so thoroughly that, you know, there they go. And so is it Newton that makes them fly, or their belief in Newton that makes them fly?
Right.
So it's a really cool thing. This is a big part of what the series is about faith. And then you have, so Shadow's in the bone orchard in this like kind of dream again, sees this buffalo with these flaming eyes, and he hears Mr. Wednesday's voice come out of it saying, believe, and he wakes up. He's on the flight, basically. It slept through the entire flight. He jokingly says to the flight attendant, like, I slept through first class, really? So he missed out on the best flight of his life, basically. He is now finds out that the reason he had slept through the whole thing is that the flight didn't go the whole way. They had to make an emergency landing, and they can't schedule his next flight for another day, so he asks how far it is. He gets a rental car and takes off on the road. So we get to see some of American God's use of like Americana with the wide open kind of barren landscapes and roads. That I don't know how much you've traveled in America, Will, but like I've gone between California and Texas, and like I know these wide open barren roads.
Oklahoma and Massachusetts, New York.
So you've seen that too. You've seen those big barren open roads, and
oh yeah, I've seen them.
that are just like iconically American. That's a lot of what we kind of see with Shadow Moon at that point. He gets to a point where he just can't take anymore. Everything that's been happening to him builds up so much, he just has to get out of his car and he screams. This is used as a transition to show a scene that's seemingly disconnected from everything else that's happening in the plot right now, but maybe like the coolest, most insane scene ever. As Shadow Moon is screaming, it pans up into the sky, and then like skywriting writes out like handwriting. So it's clearly, this is another story being told by the storyteller who told the Viking story, because it's the same kind of writing in the skywriting somewhere in America. And we see a woman waiting in a restaurant, meeting up with a man for a date. And they're going through the date. She has this kind of like desperation to her. He's kind of, nervous but excited because he's hitting way above his weight class. She ends up taking him back to her place to have sex, and what follows is another amazing Bryan Fuller sex scene.
Yeah. Well, this time Bryan Fuller can have a sex scene. Let's make that clear. This is Bryan Fuller unchained by the censorship of NBC, and wow, I knew something was gonna happen in this scene. I didn't expect that. That was something. That was wow. Yeah.
So this woman,
she devours this guy.
Yeah, with her lower mouth.
I was gonna say, not in the way that you think. Like,
so she says her name, which is Bilquis, which is the name of a god of love, and so this is a love goddess that is using her vagina to devour a man. She wants him to worship her. The whole scene was amazing, just like the way how sinister it looked, the coloring of the scene, with her just kind of like riding him aggressively, and then like you see her go from being kind of this like almost like distraught wreck of a person that you see her before to like her like in this position of like domination on top of him, as she's having him kind of like worship her basically, and he's kind of like almost in a trance, like going through like, Bilquis, daughter of the South, ruler of, like other stuff that he couldn't possibly know, but it's like he's just saying kind of like out of being in a trance or something. And while this is happening, you just see him kind of being slowly pulled in. It's an amazingly shot scene where it just looks like he's kind of shrinking and being pulled inside her, and ends with her.
It looked like she was actually getting bigger to me. I guess to you it looked like he was shrinking. To me it looked like she was growing. And then I got the sense of what was happening, and I was like, oh wow, that was definitely freaky.
She finally takes him completely inside her, like kind of just pushes his head in the rest of the way.
Like I said, she devours him. It's like a reverse birth.
And then we see her laying on the bed, satisfied and
man
younger.
Comes out of vagina a baby, man goes inside vagina as a man.
But now she's like younger. She's looks like she's de-aged.
Yeah, she's de-aged
from the process, and she's laying in bed comfortably, and that's the end of the scene with no relation to anything else happening in the story.
I assume it's going to be relevant down the line, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not wholly relevant for this episode. I guess it was just to introduce us to this character. I'm assuming that was just to introduce us to this character.
Yeah, I actually really liked it. Some people thought it was a little jarring the way it was like this vignette that's like disconnected from everything else. I really actually kind of like that. The skywriting like scene, like the way went panned up to the sky and had the skywriting.
Yeah, like,
reminded me of the end of season 2 of Hannibal. With,
I
like,
didn't
the
mind
plane.
it because, you know, if they spent the entire episode, like, introducing characters, I probably would have been fine with that. Like, we know she's going to be important later. It's like, I would be annoyed if we watched the rest of the 8 episodes and she was barely in it or, like, didn't really do anything. Then I'd be like, okay, that big scene in episode 1, what the fuck was that about? Like, I would be annoyed at the end if she didn't have, like, if she turned out to not have a very large role or not really be in it at all, then I would be annoyed about that scene because I'd be like, well, yeah, that was pointless. But I have a feeling that she's going to be important, so the scene makes sense. I mean, people got to take things within context, and sure, within the context of episode 1, there's no reason for that to be there. Could they have introduced her and had that scene occur in an episode where she played more of a role in the episode? Possibly, but I think this.
I like the way it fit in.
I think there's a reason they did it like this, so that when she does come into play, the audience she can do her thing, and the audience will know who she is instead of having to introduce her and then have her play her part in the same episode.
I like the way it came in. I like the way it panned up to the skywriting with the Somewhere in America thing. That actually reminded me of the very end of season 2 of Hannibal, where like after Hannibal was in the rain and had left everybody basically on the door of death, it kind of like panned up in daytime and you saw like an airplane fly over, and then you found out that he was on a plane heading to Europe, you know? It kind of reminded me of that, like where it just kind of seemed a little bit like out of place, but like in a cool way, like in a very vignette-y kind of way that I don't know, I dug it. So, I really dug that, but the scene ends, Shadow stops in a bar themed based on a crocodile.
Yeah.
It's a really cool kind of set with like,
really
you know,
cool
these,
set, yeah.
The crocodile teeth are like the lights, going over, and the bottom jaw's like the bar.
We meet an honest
really cool.
to God leprechaun.
Yeah, a very tall leprechaun.
A very tall leprechaun. At least he claims to be a leprechaun, and he can materialize gold coins out of thin air, and he is very, very Irish.
Before that, though, Shadow makes a bet with Mr. Wednesday, because Mr. Wednesday keeps hounding him about working for him, like, oh, don't you want to know the details about the job? And Shadow's like, I've been being polite about this. I'm fixing to not be polite anymore, you know, and turning it down. And finally, he agrees to do it on a coin toss after getting the bad news that not only did his wife die, but his best friend, who was the one that was going to be offering him a job, as well. So he gets that news. He's kind of down. He says, okay, I'll settle this with a coin toss. I'll toss the coin and you call it, and I'll, you know, based on that, I'll work for you if you get it right. He does so knowing that he's fixing the coin toss, because he's a bit of a confidence man himself. So he does it, and then before even revealing what it is, because Ian McShane's character, Mr. Wednesday, calls heads, he says, I don't even have to look at it. It's tails. I fixed it. Because I don't want to work for you, and I don't want to see you anymore. I don't want anything to do with you. Then Mr. Wednesday says something along the lines of, the easiest bets to fix are the ones that are already fixed, you know, or something. Basically saying like, you know, I did win the bet or whatever. Shadow Moon checks the coin. It went up heads. So he lost his bet somehow, even though he fixed it. That's when he meets Mad Sweeney, who's basically like, do you even know who this guy is? Starts kind of talking to him, doing coin tricks himself where he's pulling gold out of thin air, just constantly dropping it everywhere. From his mouth, from behind his ear, from behind Shadow's ear, just like everywhere. There's just gold coins coming out of everywhere. Shadow asked like how he's doing it, and he said, I'm just plucking them out of air. You know, he says, with panache, that's how I'm doing it.
Yes, with panache.
He wants to kind of like get Shadow to have a fight with him. And Shadow doesn't want to, but he ends up kind of like, you know, going after the obituary that Shadow's looking at that shows where his wife and his friend had died, and is using that to kind of like get Shadow like riled up to fight him. And so they fight, and the fight just kind of ends like right as they're about to punch each other. It just cuts away. It's on the road. Mr. Wednesday is driving an old Cadillac.
Yes.
And Shadow is asleep on the back seat.
What happened to his car, and Mr. Wednesday said he got rid of it.
Yeah, and he's like, now he's kind of coming to terms with the fact that I guess he is working for him now, because he had won the bet. So I should note before that they had come to terms with that at the bar, and he had drank 3 shots of mead, which is seems to be of significance. Seems to be almost ritualistic in the way it was done. So I should point that out. But so they're in the car now. They're driving. Shadow, the one thing he wants, the terms of taking the job basically is that he wants to get home to bury his wife. So Mr. Wednesday lets him go and says, take as long as you need. This is the only time I'm going to tell you this, to take as long as you need.
Yeah. pretty much.
So Shadow goes, he buries his wife. It's a bit of a, disaster at the funeral service. He learns that from the widow of his friend, who also died, he learns that his friend and his wife were cheating on him behind his back. Or at least apparently were, according to her. And that when his wife died, she was basically sucking his friend's dick in the car, and that's how she died. So he has to take all this in now. She says this. She's just a complete mess.
This leads to, to me, probably the worst scene in the episode, just because I was like, okay, this is out left field, and now he's dealing with this crazy woman that we just meet for the first time as this distraught, and it leads to this whole scene, and I just didn't care for the scene. I just thought, let's move things along. We sort it. We get it. We get what happened here.
I liked it because I thought it had this kind of weird, sinister edge of Shadow Moon's trying to he's not hostile towards her when she's being rude and over the top. He's because he realizes that she's mourning too, and she's so fucked up too.
Right.
But she is completely zonked out of her mind.
She's
clearly on drugs, not just drunk or something, but just up on opiates of some sort, just completely a mess. She's basically trying to have sex with him, as a fuck you to their spouses, their deceased spouses. Shadow's not having any part of it. She finally kind of breaks down and cries, and that scene ends, and we see Shadow is walking down the highway by himself, and the lights start going out, and he sees some looks like fireflies kind of in these bushes, and he heads over there, and this thing opens up, and it's this container there. It's this weird glowing container opens up and basically turns into a mechanical face hugger.
Yeah,
from Aliens.
That came out so left field. There's all of a sudden this gizmo jumps on his face. Like, after we have that scene, it's like, whoosh. It's like, wow, okay. Didn't even have a chance to cool down from that scene before that happens.
I wrote it in my notes as a facehugger VR helmet.
Facehugger VR helmet. It introduces us to another god.
This one, I don't think they name him, but the character's name is Technical Boy.
Tech Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he is a tech boy because he seems to be all about technology. He frames things in the terms of technology. So yeah, he kind of looks like Elijah Wood, young Elijah Wood.
He's shifting back and forth between a human appearance and this pixelated,
pixelated, almost like a Max Headroom type character. It's very much in that vein. At least when he shifts to the pixelated form.
He has these minions that he calls the children that looks just like, if you've ever seen Clockwork Orange, it's the uniform that all the guys in Clockwork Orange wear or whatever, the thugs, the main character and his friends would all wear, the white with the giant cod pieces and all. But yeah, so Technical Boy is questioning Shadow Moon about his involvement with Wednesday. And he's, whenever he gets an answer he doesn't like, he's having his men attack him, beat him up a little bit. While that's happening, he's smoking, he's vaping synthetic frog skin or something. It's just really weird, and it's kind of making Shadow Moon kind of see things in a weird hallucinogenic way. It's already kind of trippy. This is kind of this whole place this thing takes place in. It looks like a stretch limo ammo in the future that's like morphing and changing constantly. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to describe, except that it has like a techno-futuristic look to it.
So, Technical Boy says, why am I wasting my time with you? He's like, tells his men to kill him, says that he's not just gonna kill him, but he's gonna delete him, wipe him out of existence. He hits a button, and Shadow Moon gets like ejected, basically back into reality. And, it's pouring down rain. This is where I'd mentioned the high shutter speed. You can really, you can see the raindrops. It's such a high shutter speed. It's crazy looking. And, his minions are basically just beating the shit out of him, and they hang him from a tree using a noose, which is, I guess maybe that was the foreshadowing we saw in the Bone Orchard earlier with the noose. And, so they're hanging from a tree, but then they just start exploding, like balloons filled with blood.
Right.
So all these minions just die. They just, blow up into,
again, this was, another awesome scene.
Yeah. Which is, you have that high shutter speed with the rain, and then you have, the gore falling down. It's one of the craziest scenes, unlike anything I've seen on TV before. Just, really, surreal, hyper-realistic, weird. It's just really cool. So, the minions are exploding. His rope that he's hanging from breaks, and he's basically just kind of in shock, sitting in the rain, in front of, a pool of blood and viscera. And that's how the episode ends.
That's how the episode ends. And that was awesome.
And we didn't even get to see some of a bunch of the cast members that are some of the ones I'm most looking forward to seeing.
I was looking at some things while we were talking, and I noticed Crispin Glover's in this.
We didn't see him yet.
Yep.
Kristen Chenoweth, we haven't seen her. Florence Leachman.
Yep. Florence Leachman's in it. Didn't get a chance to see her.
Corbin Burnson's in it. We didn't see him yet. Peter Stormare, who I love. Peter Stormare, he's in it.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's in this. He is amazing. Like I said, like we said when this was first announced, when the casting was announced, we noticed that they were putting together a fantastic cast for this.
Yeah, this is the best cast I've seen since Westworld. Westworld just broke the bank. It was are you insane? The cast they put together was insane. This is on par with that, I think. I mean, maybe not as big names as somebody like an Anthony Hopkins, but Ian McShane is a huge get. Crispin Glover is super reclusive. He's somebody that you rarely see pop up in anything.
Oh yeah. I was shocked when I saw Crispin Glover's name attached to this, because the guy doesn't really do anything, So yeah. It's how'd they convince him to be part of this? I don't know.
So yeah, I'm super excited to see all these people that we haven't even seen yet. I'm already completely hooked on the show. So it's kind of everything I wanted it to be. It feels like this is a spiritual successor to Hannibal in a way, because it's the same creative team.
Oh, it's the same creative team. It's got a lot in common visually, with Hannibal. Yeah, this is great. I'm loving it. Bryan Fuller's back, baby. Woo!
So, for anybody who wants to see more content about American Gods, I actually put up a short, quick impressions video. It's much shorter. We don't go into as much detail as we did here. I also put up a top 10 list of reasons why you should be watching, American Gods. So you can check out both of those, on the website or on our YouTube channel. Until then, we have some shows coming up in the next week. Not a lot. There's not a lot of shows coming up in the next week, but, by the time this airs on May 5th, 2017, Sense8 and The Last Kingdom will both come to Netflix. So Sense8 is a show I really like. I did it for an Advocates of Great Television. One of the times we did that. I picked an episode from Sense8. The Last Kingdom is a really good show about Vikings. So if you really like the Viking aspects of American Gods and you just want to watch something about Vikings, The Last Kingdom is a good one for that. I actually like it a lot more than the show Vikings. That's a lot more popular, because I think The Last Kingdom's more of a fun show than Vikings is. Sunday, May 7th, 2017 is the 2017 MTV Movie and TV Awards. So they merged it now, so it's not just movie awards, it's TV awards, which means I'm gonna watch it and probably regret watching it because it's MTV. And then on Friday, May 12th, 2017, next week, Amazon is debuting I Love Dick, which is one of the 3 series that they showed in their pilot season when they had The Tick and Jean-Claude Van Johnson. So this is the first one to get its actual series right now. That's hitting Amazon now. Anne comes to Netflix. This is Anne of Green Gables. I think they actually changed the name of this show now to Anne with an E. That's how they're like promoting it now. It's based on the classic Anne of Green Gables series. And Master of None starts its 2nd season on Netflix.
Nice.
So not a lot of stuff, some decent stuff there though. And that's pretty much it. So you can reach me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can reach Will on Twitter. He is at Voxel Hero. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, TVEnthusiast.com. And you can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. The entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. Thank you everybody for listening. We'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all